Hey everyone, this is Pick for Life, and in today's figure review we'll be taking a look at the brand new S.H.Figuarts Iron Man Mark 45 from the Marvel Avengers Age of Ultron movie. This is coming to you from Bandai, their Tamashii Nations line, and honestly, the Mark 45 has been the red-headed stepchild of the Avengers Age of Ultron movie, really being overshadowed by the Mark 44, also known as the Hulkbuster armor. And so I'm really happy to be able to review this pretty early on, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this mold compared to the previous Iron Man review that I did, which was the Mark 43. They do say that this is supposed to be a brand new mold, and I just want to put that to the test. So let's go ahead and get started with packaging review as always. As you can see, very standard S.H.Figuarts packaging, especially for the Age of Ultron. You get this nice picture of Iron Man kind of doing a pseudo, Iron Man pose, as it's become known as. You get the same kind of logo here, except you get a nice gold outline as opposed to silver, which I'll show you on the Mark 43. Same kind of branding. We got the little highlight of the arc reactor as well as the Avengers logo. And you get a good look at the Mark 45 as well as some special effects or effects parts. You do get some of the Bandai and Tamashii Nations logo as well as the Marvel and obviously Avengers Age of Ultron. Not much on the top aside from the Avengers logo. On the side here, just a little bit of the Mark 45 and a little bit of detail about the S.H.Figuarts series. On this side, just a close-up of the Iron Man pose. On the bottom, just the standard retail information barcode and whatnot. On the back, you do get a lot of promo images. So you get the 45 from the front, the back, kind of a close-up showing some of the molding detail. It does say it's movable, posable, I guess, and then there's option parts again. So a quick comparison with the box of Mark 43. And again, as you can see, it's very much the same. The only real differences are some of the colors here. This is a lot of gold as opposed to white and silver. But by and large, pretty much the same packaging. The back is slightly different in that the angle of some of these poses is a little bit different. But essentially the same layout. So we'll get that out of the way. Yep, but that's it for packaging review. Well, let's go ahead and get this guy open and see what he comes with. So out of packaging, you do get a ton of stuff with Iron Man. Basically par for the course, same stuff that we really essentially got for the Mark 43. You get the Mark 45 itself, which we'll go into detail. You get some effect parts. So there's two sets of palm blast or energy blast for the palms that have holes here. These appear to be exactly the same that we got with the Mark 43. One's just smaller, one's just larger. And then these two kind of medium-sized ones have small pegs that fit into the heels of Iron Man to mimic the blasters coming out of his heels or his, I guess, feet pack or whatever you want to call it. And all these what look like mittens are the hands. So he has more of a back of the hand guard for his gauntlets, which are a bit different than what we saw before. So with the Mark 43, he did have a back of the hand kind of guard for his gauntlets, but they came off. They were tabbed into the back of the hand, and then they would be pegged in. So when you replace the hands, you had to do that. With this guy, they all come, I guess, with their own separate ones, and they don't look like they're supposed to be intended to come off, even though it looks like they are pegged on. In any case, you do get 3 sets of hands, so you get like this open hand for like when he's flying. You get a blast hand, so you see that peg here that plugs into the holes for the blast effects. And then lastly, you just get kind of a relaxed hand. But yeah, so nothing too surprising when it comes to accessories. We'll go into the details of each of these hands and how to install them later. They're pretty basic. Get rid of these. And let's go ahead and get into the review of the Mark 45 itself, the figure itself. So he looks really impressive. I really like this mold a lot more than the Mark 43. I think it's a lot sleeker looking. So there are some positives and negatives with this mold in comparison to the Mark 43, which is essentially a repaint of the Mark 42 that we got previously. But we'll go into that in detail. But by and large, I really like the overall look of this armor, the deco. It's a bit sleeker in a lot of places than the Mark 43 armor. I especially like the colors. They're a bit more yellow or richer gold than the kind of lighter gold that you see here with the Mark 42. It's going to be a little hard to see. Let's see if I can get this to focus. But it's more yellowish. More of a mustard gold than this kind of light, I don't even know, like a tannish gold. But there are a lot of things going on for this figure. Most of the articulation is going to be the exact same, but there are going to be some positives and negatives of this figure. So the first and foremost thing that I noticed right out of the packaging is look how immense the gap is at the base of his neck, around his collarbone. It's just way bigger than the one that you see here. And you can see much deeper in. The neck piece itself on the 43 does a lot better job of covering the inside. Yeah, and that's just a real shame, because the rest of the figure looks pretty good. The hips, which were kind of, I don't know, childbearing hips on the 43, 42, those are gone. It looks like the actual mechanism might be the same, but that they have this kind of extra hip armor here, which widens his hips a little bit, so it makes it look a little bit less awkward, and you don't get that gappiness where you see the articulation mechanisms. The only other place where I see a really big difference, as far as negatives go, is the knee. So when you fully extend the knee on the double joint, you have a big gap here, and that is not the case with the 43 armor. And it looks really, really thin as well, so it just looks kind of odd. That's a basic downside of this. I don't love the fact that they were... I thought this was good. I thought they could have... If they had used that joint here, I think that would have been a much better choice. The only other thing I would mention on mine is that the paint apps aren't great, at least on mine. I have a lot of just spotty paint. The most obvious one is here on the leg, where just a lot of, looks like kind of like rub, or it's just not smooth here, up here on the leg as well. That's the most obvious part, but there's some other areas too on the shin here, which is a little bit harder to see. So the quality of the paint applications, at least on mine, seem to be a little bit worse. Even on the mask, there's a few specked areas where the paint isn't very smoothed out. So it's a little disappointing, but overall the paint applications are pretty rich and crisp. It's just that a couple areas of mine, in particular, see here on the inner thigh as well, are not up to the quality that I've come to expect from Figuarts. And I haven't been a long time Figuarts collector, mostly just for the Age of Ultron stuff, or Avengers stuff and Iron Man stuff, but yeah, and Dragon Ball stuff, of course. But yeah, I was a little disappointed, at least with the QC on my particular figure. Yours may be perfect, so don't automatically judge the QC based on my figure, but just something to keep an eye out on. So with some of the positives of this mold, it is a completely different mold. I love the overall look. It's kind of sleek here. One of the best things that we complained about before was that he didn't get a lot of head articulation on this one, so he couldn't look very, very high. You get a little bit more with the 45. Oh, and the other thing I really liked is the eyes. The eyes are kind of a, I don't know, like a bluish color to them, which I thought was a lot nicer than the white eyes that we got with the 43. Looks more comic bookish, maybe a little bit less realistic, but I really like it. Other improvements are this back section here. So the back section I think is where the improvements really shine through. So before we had kind of this gap here on the hips, that especially in the back, that's pretty much gone here. And the reason is that there's actually an inner skeleton in here, and it's going to be really hard for me to show. So when you open this up, not only is there an exterior armor, but that's layered over top of more molded armor on the inside. Let me see if I can get this off for you. So you can see there, it does a really good job all along the back, and the back is not one solid piece like here. It's actually 3 different sections. So you have the butt, the lower back, the mid back, and then the entire back there. So you get a lot more detail, and it's much more cool, I think, when you're posing him, to be able to see some of the inner workings as opposed to just gaps, and it really just makes it feel a little bit more realistic. And then I also like how the back comes up like this and has these almost like blades that come down. I think that makes the figure look a little bit more interesting than this kind of regular smooth back, and more anatomical. I don't know if that is the word I'm looking for, but yeah. And then, as I spoke to before, the hips are much better, and that they don't show the gappiness. Some of the other stuff is going to be pretty much the same. The shoulder covers are the same. The elbows are pretty much the same. But yeah, those are the points I wanted to highlight. So articulation wise is pretty much the same that we got before. He has a double ball peg, a lot of range of motion there. His neck does have the same ball peg in there. So you get a lot of range of motion there. As before, with the shoulder, it's on that rotational peg, and then a swivel right here. Get a bicep swivel as well. The shoulder pads are on that pinned hinge. Get the double jointed elbows, and then the ball jointed or ball pegged fist or hands as usual. He does have really great articulation in the chest. You can turn really far, like, well, I guess maybe about 30 degrees, but a really good job there. You do get a little bit of gappiness if you start going back like this, like he's going limbo, but I don't think you'll be doing that with this figure. So, at least in most poses that you'll be doing. So that doesn't bother me at all, since it's not particularly realistic. With the shoulders, I forgot to mention, he does still have that extra articulation if you pull out the shoulders. And then you'll get some more range of motion there. Or if you want to keep it a little bit sleeker, just collapse that back in. The hips are pretty much the same. It does have the ball peg that can swivel down, so you can get more leg motion going forward and back if you would like. Obviously it does break that up. It does look really awkward if you bring them both down without actually making use of that articulation, but if you keep them all the way up, it's really nice. No gaps at all. Like, from any angle, it's hard to see anything, even from the back, which is great. So same articulation there. He does have a bit of a upper thigh or hip swivel up there. We saw before the double jointed knees, which does produce that gap. And then the foot, he does have that toe articulation. And oh, here's another place where the paint app on mine is not particularly good. Right there. And same thing on the other side. Other foot. So again, just some poor quality paint apps. Again, it might just be on my figure. I'm loath to say that it's going to be for everyone. But yeah, he does have forward and back. No real in and out. A little bit, but not a whole lot. And then he has that toe articulation. Because of this cover here, he does seem to have less than the Mark 43. It does slide up a bit, but it doesn't go nearly as far. But yeah, I think that's it. Well, you also get the ankle swivel as well, But that's it for articulation. Overall, I don't think I have anything else to say about that, other than I think this is a vast improvement in most cases, aside from this gap here and the gap in the knee. Everything else, I think this mold is clearly a better mold, and does a much better job of making it look more realistic. I keep talking about these segments here and the inner detail, but I think that just really, they did really take it up a notch with that. There, we'll go ahead and show off the swapping of the fists. As usual, just go ahead and take it off the ball joint. I'm going to go ahead and put on the hands with that are compatible with the effect parts. So just plug that in. Go ahead and take one of these. There you go. And if you wanted to go ahead and add the feet effects, go ahead and just plug those into the bottom of the foot. And you can have Iron Man posing as normal in this kind of flight stand mode. Yeah, so by and large, this figure is a vast improvement. For my final thoughts, I think you should definitely pick this one up. If you want to pick one of the Iron Man molds up, if you don't want both, I think this one is the one to get. He just looks nicer overall. Again, the overall molding, it's a brand new mold, so if you already have the 42, it's an easy skip for the 43 and going straight to the newer 45. You get the same effect parts, same accessories, same number of hands and everything like that. So there's really, I don't know, I mean, I really did like the 43 just because it was my first Iron Man mold, but now kind of looking and seeing what the fandom said and understanding that it was basically a straight remold, it is nicer to get a new mold out of here and see where they've progressed in the articulation and just overall molding of the Figuarts line. So I'm looking forward to Captain America and Thor and Hulk to finish out the line. I highly do recommend them. If you want to pick this guy up, go ahead and click on the link in the description below. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and share with your friends and family or whoever you're going to keep up to date with on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever. And then if you want to keep up to date with my news and reviews, go ahead and click on the subscribe button here if you haven't already, as well as go ahead and like my page on Facebook at P4L Reviews. Alright, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and give them a post in the comment section below as well, and I'll try to answer those as much as possible. But I think that's all for today, everyone. Hope you have a good one.